When it comes to teaching reading, what's the best way of doing it? I know it can get confusing. And I know I've had people ask me, how should I be teaching reading? What should I be doing? My child, I get it. It can be really, really overwhelming to stop and think, especially when your child is showing that they are fully ready to be reading, and reading readiness is so important. What do we want to do? What's the best approach? Did you know that there are two main approaches to teaching reading? Did you? One of them we've heard a lot more about because it's the one that's definitely in favor. The other one, maybe you have or haven't heard of. That's what I want to look at today. These two approaches in reading. Hi, and welcome to Learning Life today as we look at reading. I love reading. It is one of my great joys to be able to sit and read. And I am so thankful that I had some really great reading instruction when I was younger, so that reading has been easy for me. You know what? Yes, I was an early reader. I was reading before kindergarten, so a lot of it was really picked up organically. And in fact, I see that with my girls as well, how much they've picked up organically. But I am aware of, what are the different ways that we can be teaching reading? And if you are homeschooling or your child is showing a readiness before school and you're wondering, there really are two main approaches. And you know what? I love being able to help people when they're I've got a question and I need an answer, and you've come across this video. Hello. You know what? Thank you, everybody who is watching, who is leaving comments. Thank you for the likes and subscribes. If you're new, great way to support us. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe, because Learning Life is here for all of us as we learn in this life together. So reading. Do you like reading? Do you remember how you learnt to read? Maybe not. Well, there really is right now one main approach to reading, and you've probably heard of this, phonics. I love phonics. Phonics is a beautiful thing, and it is super helpful with reading, and we're going to look at phonics. The other one is also whole language. Have you heard about that? Do you know this one, a whole language? Well, I want to look at both of these, at the advantages and the disadvantages of both. And then I want to finish off with my thought on the best way of approaching teaching of reading. What is the whole language approach? The very name sort of tells us what it is. We are drawing from whole language. Now, the main tenet of belief in whole language is that young children are going to learn to read really in the similar way that they learn to speak. Language is around them. We learn how to speak. So here's our literature. Children are going to learn to read. It's an interesting concept in that, are children just going to naturally pick up and read? Some might, but some might not. But here they are drawing this whole language is what we're going to do. We are recognizing that words are part of the language as a whole. And came out in about the 1970s with a man named Ken Goodman. And, he presented these ideas and people took a hold of it, a new idea. Oh, this is great. Let's explore it. And it really became popular in the 1980s into the 1990s, in the US, Canada, Great Britain, probably Australia too. I don't remember. I was in school then. But, there really, interestingly enough, was limited support for the effectiveness. We actually found a generation of children that were really sort of struggling in reading fluency because they weren't necessarily getting everything out of this whole language approach. Something was missing for these children, in particular children with dyslexia or any reading issues. This was not a great approach for them. But there are advantages and disadvantages to it, and I know some people still really like this whole language approach, so let's look at that. Advantages of whole language. Whole language draws from the exposure to literature. Yeah, I love that. I have read books to my girls from really day one, really introducing them to literature and a variety of literature. And I love that. And so that is a great advantage of whole language. Another one would be is that we are using our reading, writing, speaking, listening, all of those things. Those communication tools are excellent. And so, yes, we use language in a variety of ways. Language isn't just the written text. It is what we speak. And so we are using all of this. And it also then helped to, build that sort of confidence from drawing from context, like what is the context of the words and the meaning. And so these were some great advantages of whole language. Cons of whole language. So whole language doesn't teach the rules of English. I sort of get that, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the rules of English, but there really are some good, strong things that we do need to know that are helpful, that, are structured in understanding, maybe nouns and verbs and adjectives, understanding what they are and some of the rules. And so in that, because we're just meant to be drawing this meaning from those words that we are just learning and memorizing, decoding is not easily taught or learnt. What is decoding? Hang on just a moment. We'll get to that, okay? And also, really, it was just not as effective as phonics. Studies still are showing that whole language is not as effective as phonics. What is the phonics approach? Okay, so yeah, this is where I get excited. I love phonics. Phonics is the breaking down of the letters into its sounds, its blends. This really is the one that we're most familiar with, right? Because there's curriculum out the wazoo about this. There are some beautiful phonics curriculum out there, and I have used several of them. I remember teaching kindergarten and doing the Ants in the Apple program that went through it, all the different letters and their sounds. So A, the letter A makes the sound as a short sound. It makes an A as a long sound. We're hearing these different sounds. The letter C can make K or a S sound. One of those. So we're not just teaching A, B, C. We are teaching the sounds that are associated with them, because you have G that has G and a J sound. So children are learning these, and it just becomes really helpful, with little books, because we think about it, sounding it out if we're not sure, especially we've been learning the short sounds d, a, n, dan, and we've got these books that we can be reading, and we can break them down and we can sound them out. That is a strong phonics foundation, and it does help. There's a lot of curriculum out there. Advantages in phonics. So phonics really is very helpful for those foundations. That is one of the key things, a foundation. It helps with decoding, which we'll get to. It helps with spelling. It really is good with spelling. And it really does help overall with fluency, because especially if we have learned this, sound it out, and we can apply it to many things, we will get fluent and we will remember these words, and these words become those sentences, and we are more fluent in our reading. Cons of phonics. English language. That's a big con. There are so many non-phonetic words in English. I love languages that are phonetic. I think that's why I love reading German, because it is phonetic. Oh, I get it. But English language, we have too many times that sounding it out doesn't work. So that can be a con. Honestly, also, sounding it out doesn't always help with comprehension. Yes, a simple little book like this, I have seen children read a whole sentence, sounded it out, but has not been able to tell me what that sentence means. It does not have the comprehension to it. Yeah, they might sound fluent in their reading, but if we're not comprehending, we're not truly reading. So that can be a con of phonics. What is decoding? Yes, I'm here. Decoding. This is what we need. It is translating print to speech, translating that written word into that meaning and that understanding. And we need to have it because it's an important foundation of reading instruction. Okay, if we can decode something, we are going to comprehend. Like looking at breaking down words, not just into the sounds, but into syllables, and understanding what the ing does or the ses does at the end of words. We're like, oh, that helps. Prefixes, okay? This is all decoding, and we need to be able to decode to read, because otherwise it is just letters on a page. We may as well just sound everything out. We are not drawing the meaning. So decoding is breaking those things down to fully understand the meaning. What are sight words? This might be something as well that you're very familiar when it comes to reading and school. That's like, these are the sight words that your children need to know. Though I'm a little saddened by these are the sight words your children need to know before kindergarten. I personally think that kindergarten is the age to be starting that instruction and the sight words. They don't need to know it beforehand. But sight words, we get those lists, we learn them. What are they? Well, they are words that we need to know by sight. Maybe they are not easily sounded out. And truly, I think a good sight word is one that's not sounded out, because if we can sound it out, do we need to fully know it by sight? We get to that in our fluency. But it's often also high-frequency words. And high-frequency words are the words that, especially in beginning reading, we are going to be seeing a lot of. An, and, the, if. Those sorts of words are high-frequency words. Now, there are two main lists of sight words, of these high-frequency words. There's the Dolch list and the Fry list. Now, the Dolch list was the first, okay? Good old Mr. Dolch, the father of sight words. We can thank him for that, maybe. No, I do believe that sight words are important. The Dolch list is around 200, it is 220 words, but it doesn't draw nouns necessarily. So there is an additional 95-word list of nouns. So 315 words in the Dolch list. But honestly, it hasn't been updated in decades. Then there's the Fry list of 1,000 sight and high-frequency words that draw from all parts of speech. So nouns, verbs, all of that. And the Fry list has been recently updated. So both of the lists are good. I have tended more in the early days, gravitated like in our beginner readers with the Dolch list. I really like the Dolch list. The Fry list is also great. We should really be using both. And you'll see that there is overlap. 315 words, 1,000. There is definitely overlap. And it is worthwhile teaching sight words. You can easily pull the lists from online, but I will put some links below and also on my website for where you can be drawing these lists and how they've broken them down into grade level. So we've got like decoding and sight words and phonics and whole language. I bet you're asking, but what? You said you'd tell me like the best approach. Hybrid approach. Did you think I was going to be saying that? You know what? Yes, I believe that when it comes to reading, we need a hybrid approach, combining these two. But it is not an even division. I love phonics. I see the true value in phonics. So I believe that as we have this hybrid approach, the bulk of it is phonics. We need that as a good, solid foundation for reading. So we are teaching phonics, we're building upon that. And then we take those aspects of whole language that we are drawing from literature. We are teaching about looking and seeing those words. So our sight word lists and the meaning, and this is what that word looks like, and that's what that word is. And so we build onto that. And then we are teaching our decoding. We have to combine it together. Phonics on its own doesn't just work. It can, but as we've seen, one of the cons, these non-phonetic words, okay? Phonetic isn't even a phonetic word. So, we've got that, but if we have strong phonics foundation with the things from whole language that work and make sense, guess what? We have this beautiful, complete approach to reading, and our children are then going to master reading and to master decoding and pulling out like that context and that meaning, and then hopefully in all of that enjoy reading, because you know what, we're going to use it the rest of our lives. Well, thank you so much for watching today, and I hope that helps. I hope you can see that we do need both but especially phonics. Remember, we love phonics. Thank you so much for being part of this Learning Life community through sharing and liking and subscribing. And another way that you can support us is also by becoming a champion. So you can do that through patreon.com or through my website, LearningThis.Life.